Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Hi.
our channel, Faith by Grace. I am Nadia.
And I'm Brittany.
This channel is going to be about our mother and daughter journey.
We felt led by God to, start this channel to help other parents and their children who share similar experiences, hoping that, we can be a help of some kind. We realized that we didn't see anything out there about anyone talking about, the divide between parents and their children. So we're hoping that we can bring the channel to you and be helpful to you and your family.
Yeah, so let's start. When did we see the divide between us? When did we start seeing it?
Middle school. Middle school was like, it was the divide. 7th grade. Like, how old was I? 12 going on 13, maybe?
I say 12 going on 17, y'all. But I remember when I was excited about middle school, like any parent, but nervous. Like you're so excited and so nervous because you're thinking it's middle school. Is my kid gonna be able to survive it? Will we be able? The things that I was thinking about were the things I shouldn't have been really worried about because I grew up in New York. Middle school was a different vibe, and now I'm like, okay, can my kid survive this? And I literally, y'all, my daughter changed. I don't think I recognized her at point. At first, she went in sixth grade, sweet as a button. 7th grade, I don't know. 7th grade, I started grabbing phones and watching, and we just was not getting along. I remember one day I asked her, I was like, "Who are you? You're not even my daughter.
Oh my goodness.
Who are you?"
She's like, who are you? What have you done with Brittany? And I was like, what does that even mean? I was so confused at the time. But, as I look back, I think that's when everything just starts to change. Like, how in elementary school, they're like preparing 5th grade to 6th grade transition. You're like, oh, it's nothing as if you think about the extra classes, but no one thinks about everything that children have to go through, what it entails. Trying to find yourself. It's like all the extraness. There's boys, there's the friends. You got to pick and choose and be careful and wise. And it's like all of this stuff I realized had a big impact on who you are and trying to find yourself. And I think maybe at the time I realized like maybe because I said, oh, who are you and this and that. I think even I didn't know who I was, and I felt like you didn't understand that, and I didn't know how to express it. And I felt at sometimes because of how the divide in our house was at the time, I felt like I couldn't speak to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I really do feel like that's where it started, and everything trickled after next. And the enemy had ways to come in, and it started from there.
Listen, I just remember middle school. She went from being this little girl that trusted me so much. I was like her best friend. Like you would not see Brittany without me. Like she was my little doll. I dressed her up, and we would just have. It would just be if you saw Nadia, you saw Brittany. So now this little girl that's out there and she's getting her own opinion and formulating her own little institution, Brittany's institution, where she's like, well, no, maybe mom is not right with this. Maybe mom is not fair with this. And I'm not going to say that I handled it the best at times. Many times I didn't. It could be because I also was raised in a very strict background. Hello, Jamaican parent here. So sometimes I didn't hear her. She was trying to tell me and I couldn't hear. And sometimes she seemed confusing what she was trying to tell me. And it seemed like I was not fair in things. And I remember there was a time when you and one of your uncles and your dad had like a meeting with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, everyone is having this round table. Man, did I feel attacked, y'all? Yeah. I felt like I'm a great parent.
Yeah.
And she's like, her biggest thing was always telling me, Mom, you're not listening. Mom, you're not listening. I'm like, I'm listening. I'm hearing what you're saying, but what you're saying don't make no sense. And that stayed through middle school, through high school, even when you'll hear more about it, guys, when we had like a 4-year separation.
4.5, almost 5 years.
4.5, almost 5 years separation. Sure, yeah. And when she came back home, it was still, you're not listening. But as you hear about our journey and as we go forth and share our experiences, I hope you understand that the divide is normal.
It's not.
And as I started, not right away, because honestly, I didn't start figuring out like I was handling the situation wrong until honestly she left home at 17 and a half, like right there, right before high school. And it was like me, it was just like me acting spontaneous with arguing. So that's another story, but let's get back to the middle school experience. Like the middle school experience, it's not easy. These kids are lost, and I feel like I raised my children in a foundation of Christ, but I feel like I knew him, but I wasn't living him. You know, like when you know God, but you wasn't living God. So when the spiritual warfare started, I
Yes.
didn't identify it.
And that's exactly
I
what it
just
was.
fleshy react all the time. I didn't know how to react in the spirit. Man, I forgot my spirit, and I was just flesh, and I would just be that mom that knew better. And it was a time when I remember, you remember the summer I sent you to your grandma because we needed a break?
Yeah, that was like,
Me and your,
it was literally like the end of summer too. The last 2 weeks we were just like oil and water in the
Could
house.
not get along.
Like, but I realized though, as I look back and you know I've had my time with God, I'm like, this was the enemy's plot and plan the whole time, and it literally started from middle school. And it's like, it's not a coincidence that all parents and their children go through the same thing. It's to divide the household. He wants to create that separation. So it's just like, I believe maybe too, as parents, what could have been better is if you would have understood and listened, because I felt like in middle school I became sneaky. Oh, my mom not listening, so I'm not gonna tell her this. And I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing. That was another entryway that the enemy
man,
had.
I tell you, God, I remember one time I used to always meet her on the bus because that was just me. I just did not want my child. I listen, I'm gonna meet you at the bus stop. You know, my job afforded me to walk and meet her. What time? Like after 4, you got off the bus after 5, and I was there picking her up. And I don't remember what she did in school, but I remember I punished her. Oh,
She
cell phone. I caught you.
No, it wasn't
What was
a cell
it?
phone. Every time you took my cell phone, that was fine. It was I got in trouble for something, and she told me to wear, like, it was a
No, it was
non-uniform school.
She got in trouble for inappropriate texting.
Oh yes.
On a cell phone, but here's the thing. She was inappropriately texting on someone else, using someone else's Facebook.
Yeah. You know the things we do as kids. It was
Using
sneaky.
someone.
It
So
was
I'm
sneaky.
like, have no idea. And when I saw those texts, guys, I lost it. I was like, whose child is this using this inappropriate language and saying these things? Oh, this ain't my kid.
And the sad thing about it is, even as that was happening, it's like I didn't even know, like, what I
No.
was. I don't understand, and I felt like that was the only way to get someone to like you. I had to talk like that. I had to do this and that.
Yeah.
I had to speak inappropriately, sexual content at like 12, 13.
No
And
idea
the thing
what
is,
she
it
was
wasn't-
doing,
and
guys.
it-
Still
unfortunately,
innocent, but
yeah.
just going with
But
the
I
trend.
realized-
Just going with the trend of that's what they do.
But I realized as the enemy has it, like, all of the people around me were doing it. All of my friends.
I understand that now.
Unfortunately, you know, sex started happening in middle school very early. Sexual talk, some people getting pregnant. It was a bad, like, spiritual warfare was so heavy that, and we didn't know. We didn't know what it was then, because we weren't where we were with God as we are
Absolutely not. And I just remember that particular day, the Holy Spirit was always talking. And I remember I went to the bus stop. So her punishment was, not only did I take your phone? Yes.
now. Yes, you did.
I took her phone, and that was like a paranoid to me because God forbid anything happened. Thank God then it's not like now. Now I would hate to take her phone. Like I don't even think I would do that. I would have to find another way. And then because it was middle school and you could wear a uniform, I had her wear a uniform.
No, we wore regular clothes.
Yeah, oh sorry, the middle
You
school
didn't
wore
wear
regular clothes. So I put her in her uniform from middle school when we lived in Port St. Lucie. She had uniforms, guys. And I was like, okay, so you're going to wear a uniform because you think you're grown. You're going to wear your uniform. And when I went to pick her up at the bus stop, it was just, God, he's just always prevalent. And she came off the bus and, you know, she's so cute, hi mom, whatever. And then I'm like talking to her and something, I know now it was the Holy Spirit was like, check her bag. Check her bag. But thank God I didn't, because
Yeah.
I didn't know how to refrain then. I was that Jamaican parent, and this is no pun to Jamaican parents. I'm just old school. We are just very big on discipline. And I checked her bag. No, I didn't check her bag. I just remember saying to her, "You better not have a change of clothes in that bag. Do I need to check your bag?" I need to check your bag. And she just had this look, and she's like, "No." Years later.
And then she felt up my bag, and I was just praying. I was like, God.
Yeah, I don't even remember I felt up
Please.
the bag.
I like held my breath the whole time. My heart was like skipping 1,000 beats. I was like, God, please. Because at that time, it was hard for me to come home. Like, home is not where I wanted to be. School was my escape. And
I went
like,
from
I dreaded being in the house.
We went from watching movies, shopping together, having our nails done, chit-chatting to... She just didn't trust me, and I didn't know who the heck it was. There was just this divide between us, and my reactions didn't necessarily help. Even when one of her uncles and her dad like just had the situation where they talked to her, or I should say a family friend and her dad, and I tried to. I honestly thought we were meeting each other halfway, but by then, for some reason, middle schoolers don't feel like we just didn't click. She couldn't trust me, like no matter what. Even when I thought I was meeting halfway, it was just, I don't know. I call it the middle school demon.
No, yeah, I think what it is, I believe that it's like...
Not for all kids,
no,
for some.
For some, it's like whispering spirits. Oh, she's not right. Don't listen to her. She doesn't understand you. Nobody loves you. She doesn't love you. Like, that's what I'm hearing. And then without realizing the enemy, you start creeping. So we just, instead of coming together, we were just fading out. And it just got worse and worse, like, as the years progressed. And I was just like, man, like, at that point, I just felt like, I felt like I wasn't me. I felt like even in middle school, I didn't know me.
No.
Until even to when I got older, now it's different.
Yeah, it trickled to high school too.
I did not know who I was.
Because by then, the thought pattern was there. Like, I didn't even know. Like, I'm going to be a biased mom and be like, to me, you're just extremely beautiful, intelligent little girl. And I would always tell you that. But I didn't know that you're hearing these things about yourself. Your self-esteem is being broken. I mean, to me, I'm trying my best. It's not like you weren't fashionable. I mean, yeah, you weren't wearing the latest gear, but you were cute. You understand? Put together. Mm-hmm. You did get your little eyebrows done, and you had your nails and your feet and your hair. You had those things done, and you put yourself together. You were presentable. So to me, growing up in my time, those were things that were not going to ostracize you, because we know middle school can be tough. Like, if you don't look the part, or not even so much look the part, but feel comfortable in your skin.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying you were with the cliquiest crew. Absolutely not. That wasn't you. But still, I tried to understand, because I'm thinking, I'm a younger mom, so I'm going to understand where she's coming from. I understand, but man, it's the same issues, but a different generation.
But as parents, though, your experiences, you parented out of fear.
I did.
That's another spirit. That was another entryway. And since you parented out of fear, it came off as, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, no, not that. And it was like everything was like shut. And it was like at school, they would be like, oh, we all know Brittany's on lockdown. We all know this. Like, I was the one who I tried to take boys' phone numbers. Oh, no, I can't. Until when I was like, wait. Then I started sneaking. Oh, I could just text someone to sneak. People giving me ideas of that's how the enemy comes in. Like, that's just what it was. And I pray that, other families, like your parents, just listen to your kids, be in tune with your kids, because the enemy is trying to take your children. I feel like those spirits, those whispering spirits, and especially now, I fret like sometimes for the children in school, because it's even worse back then. There's like, we didn't have Instagram and all that stuff.
It's worse now,
then.
you mean?
Because
this is a social media plethora right now.
It's like what you're watching and taking, our eyes and our ear gates. It's like, oh my goodness. So I like prayer and being on the right spiritually with God is really what helped take us through, because other than that, it was like all one thing after the next that led to the great divide. I look back and I was like, wow, you know, you just look back and you're like, you've seen the enemy's hand and everything. We've seen the doorways, the open doorways. We've
Yeah,
seen
but
everything.
I didn't understand it. I just saw rebellion. And I know you're saying I wasn't listening, but the thing is, most parents think they are listening.
Yeah.
We're listening, we're trying to understand, but even when you're listening and trying to understand, it really is hard because sometimes your child, you're just not meshing anymore. It's like a stranger moved in and you're like trying to understand, like, when did it get like this? What did I do wrong? And you're trying to fix something that it's not really fixable. It's trying to go through it with the child and trying to understand. So you're supposed to try to give enough space but keep them close. And I think that's when now parents then and now because man, I can't even tell a middle schooler is different from a high schooler sometime now.
Goodness, yes.
And it's just different. There's so much access to things. So, you know, some people look and be like, oh, I had friends tell me, oh, I had one friend tell me one time, she was like, how am I supposed to, she was going through it with her daughter, and I'm like trying to give advice, and she's like, well, how am I supposed to treat her? Like the way you treat Brittany, like you like just let her do nothing. But Brittany had rules. Like I had certain rules. You couldn't date at, I thought you should be able to date at 16, but you just felt like the boys were there and I didn't know what I was talking about. And it was just more than the dating. It was just the friends, the confusion. So you go into this, I'm going to call it the middle school government. And then you form your friends and you have your friends that you form. And then you guys think, you know what? This is how it should be. And then you start telling similar stories about your parents and like, oh, me too, me too, me too. And you're affiliated with each other. But at the same time, these familiar spirits are like, yeah. So if we are experiencing the same thing, yeah, maybe we should change clothes, or yeah, we should use a different Facebook, or yeah, we should be able to text, because they don't know what they're talking about. They're mean. Like
they act like they weren't our age. That's what you act like we weren't our age. It's like parents, and we feel like in school, like parents forgot that you were once 14, 13,
I never
12.
forgot that I was 14.
And it's like, maybe do you, like, I feel like as though to you too, like you parented out of that, like, oh, I don't want her to, what if she's
right, like I didn't want her to be 14-year-old me. My story is completely different. It wasn't the greatest, but my story came from an emotionally abusive situation. So I wasn't that way to her. You know, I was like the parent that I always wanted, but it wasn't the parent that necessarily in that moment, because then there was times she was like, you are just like grandma, like, and I'm like, no, wait, I'm nothing like her. And then I had to assess myself and be like, man, what you see is what you know. Like, honestly, like I remember trying to be so different from my mom parenting and becoming exactly the thing, because you know, you always become the thing you kind of load, or the thing, and I didn't realize it, because to me, I was approaching parenting different, and it kind of got the same results, you know, and that's what we kind of went through. That's what started our journey, and it gets better, guys. It does. There's a lot of stories to tell, but yes, we hope what we've at least started to share, like, that you think will, you know, let your kids sit down and maybe you could think about what we're saying, because you know, these kids are,
we need love.
We need you. They have love, but for some reason, I don't think it's, do you need love, or you feel like you're unloved? Because even though I was loving on you, you felt like you were unloved.
We were
you felt like I didn't understand, and then from this thought, because you told me about it, and I was like in shock. You've always said, I just felt like your self-esteem was attacked. And I'm like, well, where did that come from? Like, I'm telling you, but it didn't matter what I was telling her. I was mom. It was what she saw amongst her peers, or what she was receiving from out there. Well, that's it for today.
Yes, guys. Hopefully you guys can tune into our next part where we
continue to speak about it's middle school and high school.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.